Ah, love. Such a warm, cozy feeling, like the first sunny day of spring, flowers blooming, birds chirping, the whole poetic package. And wouldn't tell me why Valentine's Day has to be in February, the coldest, slushiest, most universally questionable month of the year. You're supposed to go outside and enjoy a romantic stroll, but instead you're just trudging through gray snow soup, and all that resentment gave me an idea. Hi, hello, and welcome. My name is Anna, and today we will be drawing love languages as evil witches. Hey, it's been a while, and I missed you guys. Therefore, yes, technically Valentine's Day has passed and I might be a little late with this love-themed video, but I feel like we all need a little love right now, even if it's from an evil witch. So here's my plan. I am assigning love languages to witches, and what makes them evil, I don't know, is definitely not just their pointy hats and the fact that they live in creepy fog-covered forests. No, it's their luring techniques. The way they seduce their victims is directly tied to the kind of magic they can wield. Anyway, let's get started. So, what are the love languages? If you don't know, the 5 Love Languages is a relationship book written by a marriage counselor, Gary Chapman. It outlines 5 distinct ways people express and interpret love, proposing that understanding a partner's primary quote-unquote language strengthens emotional connection and relationship satisfaction. Except, not really. Don't get me wrong. Doing all these 5 things would almost definitely improve your relationship, but the fact that everyone has their own quote-unquote primary way to express love does not have much scientific backing. Or at least in some studies conducted, the theory lacks empirical support that individuals have preferred love language. So in fact, if you love someone, you pretty much end up kind of doing all of the things at some point, maybe one more than the others, but still it's a package deal. So if your partner is not helping with the chores because quote-unquote acts of service or whatever is not their love language, tell them I said that they're full of Hey, while there's not much science here, it's still a fun thing to speculate, you know? So I took the quiz because we all know that's the most accurate way to figure things out. And here's the result. Apparently, I really hate receiving gifts. I guess if you give me a gift, it means that you hate me and you want me to die. Now, my top love language turned out to be acts of service, and that's where we'll start. Acts of service means doing helpful things for someone to show you care. Instead of saying loving words or giving gifts, a person shows love by taking action to make the other person's life easier. Common acts of service include cooking a meal for someone, doing household chores like washing dishes, cleaning laundry, running errands for them, etc., etc. You know, trying to survive day to day in this totally normal, very peaceful and stress-free world we're living in right now, the way you express love a bit change. Time becomes such a precious resource, especially when there's a never-ending list of chores to do. So for me, when my partner does something for me, even if it's something tiny like taking out the trash or putting away dishes, it just makes my heart do a little happy dance. And same goes for this particular witch. She wants you to be her puppet, but don't worry, she got a nice way of going about it. She manipulates her victims into servicing her by serving them first. She helps them with all the tiny everyday tasks that you don't want to deal with. Like I said, just cleaning, maybe some parts of the gardening, cooking, all the stuff you'd rather just offload. It's like, let me help you get all your chores done so you can have more time for your family, hobbies, or if you're like me, just avoiding your responsibilities in peace. While all this is going on, her victims start to get comfortable. They get used to it, and before they know it, they totally depend on her services. And that's actually her whole plan. She slowly infiltrates their lives and their homes, doing more and more, while the debt just keeps piling up. By debt, I mean, of course, time. Let's be real, time is the only currency that matters to her. I kind of think of her like this magical AI. You know how some people are so dependent on AI right now that they literally forget how to do some skills? I think of her in the similar manner. As time goes on, the debt just keeps stacking up, as I just said, and eventually she comes to collect it. But instead of sending like a bill or something, she pulls you into her service so you can repay in full. That's almost how her magic works. Like, she binds you through serving you. She can multitask like a beast. She knocks out chores in a few minutes, while maybe some regular people would take hours to complete the same amount of tasks. Then she would keep everything recorded, and she is definitely coming for every minute of every task she's ever done for you. I drew her in this spectral manner, imagining her as this quiet, faceless, something you wouldn't treat as a sentient being creature. I gave her elements of a maid uniform to make her look more like a, well, maid. I wanted her appearance to be as unquestionable as possible. I mean, of course, seeing something like this would be very questionable, but I mean in a practical sense. If the witches in this universe are real, it would make sense that one that does acts of service would kind of resemble a housemaid. It makes sense that she's quiet and has magic that allows her to multitask. Hopefully what I'm saying makes sense. If this witch was real, I would 100% fall into her trap. If someone seemingly for free and out of their goodwill did the house chores for me, it's disgusting how fast I would fold and become their puppet. There's something about having your needs perfectly met, like I hate doing house chores. I think you can tell. Anyway, yeah, this is the result. What do you think of this? Please let me know if you would fall into her trap as easily as me. And yeah, not super happy with the design and everything. Trust me, as we move forward, it definitely gets better. But yeah, let me know what you think. Apparently, as I am continuing to learn things about myself, my second favorite love language would be quality time. Quality time basically means showing love by giving someone your full attention and spending meaningful time together. That could be talking without distractions, maybe going on a walk together, just sitting on a couch and having a deep conversation. To sum it up, just doing some activity where you are actually present, both of you. For people who value quality time, what matters most is feeling focused and emotionally connected. I would say it all pretty much tracks for me. I personally love spending time with my loved ones. Wow, truly groundbreaking information I am sharing here. I know, revolutionary stuff, but seriously, I love being present and having conversations. Even though I am a very introverted person and get tired from communication pretty easily, being in real time with people I care about is still one of my favorite ways to express appreciation. When reading about all of this, quality time for me is weirdly associated with like slumber, like comfort and coziness. So when I designed her, or when I was designing her, I wanted her to look as, fuzzy and warm as possible. I wanted her to just feel welcoming overall. Quality time as a witch is someone who preys on loneliness. Well, I guess all of those witches would prey on some kind of loneliness. I think this particular one cares about loneliness the most. And of course, the desire to spend time in someone's company. Her whole thing is that she makes herself look and feel like a safe space, which is extremely appealing to someone craving interaction. I gave her this cape that also kind of looks like a blanket. Her arms are open and inviting, like she's about to offer you the softest hug you ever had or pull you into this cozy little snuggle situation. But obviously there's a catch. It's basically a trap. Quality time will entertain your needs at first, but eventually she starts neglecting you in the long run. Her tactics is to find vulnerable people who need company and simply trap them within her web. I imagine her blanket cape thing is functioning like, well, as a spider web. Once she lures you in, she wraps you up and you completely lose your perception of time forever. That's why I added those spider web elements in her design, like on her blanket. You can find some on her hair. She's almost like covered in this sticky spider web. Even though people know they should stay away from her almost irresistible allure is hard to say no to. Once she traps you, you are stuck in her timeless dimension forever, and the energy from her victims becomes the source of her magic. This was actually the concept and design I struggled with the most. I am not entirely sure why. Maybe because spending quality time is such a good thing that it was a bit hard for me to turn it into an evil witch or evil concept. This character that relies on the concept of time should be pretty easy to translate into a character design. But even though I knew where I wanted to go, turning it into visual was a bit challenging. It is probably my least favorite design out of the 5, but again, her power would most definitely work on me. What do you think about it? If you have any ideas how you would improve or maybe make this particular witch be more evil, let me know. I guess the most evil thing about the quality time witch is that she just traps you and snuggles you forever. Next up on the list is words of affirmation. Words of affirmation are expressions of love, appreciation, or encouragement that are spoken or written to someone. They include compliments, supportive statements, or saying things like, I'm proud of you, I appreciate you, I like you, and stuff like that. While I was drawing this, I started wondering if there's such a thing as the 5 hate languages. Sadly, there is not a book about the 5 ways people express their hatred for each other. I guess you could just take the 5 love languages and flip them around anyway. So for words of affirmation, I guess the opposite would be words of being mean. English and I are very close friends. Actually, it would be kind of funny if there were 5 good witches or fairies or something who express love through the hate languages. If that's something you'd like to see. Anyway, back to words of affirmation. I think the concept for her is pretty straightforward. She is the charisma of her coven, the one who speaks the most eloquently and always seems to choose exactly the right words. Basically, the diplomat of the group. For her design, I really wanted to incorporate elements of mouths and teeth to make her look a little creepy. Unlike the other witches, she doesn't rely on physically being near her victims most of the time. She relies on speech and on being listened to. Therefore, her words can echo through the distance. I imagine her as someone who can whisper the right things at the right time to the right people and manipulate them without even trying much. She chooses her victims very carefully though. She mostly observes them from a distance first, figuring out their insecurities and weaknesses. Then she starts to whisper in their minds exactly what they want to hear. Things like, oh, so you're a great friend, so what that you did this one horrible thing? They just don't understand or appreciate you, or I see how hard you are working, you don't need to change, blah blah blah. Basically just fueling their decisions, almost to the degree of, toxic positivity. And now that I am thinking about it, I can also make the parallel to AI. You know how AI will never call someone out, even if they're like, oh, I cheated on my wife because she was not fulfilling her duty as a wife and not making dinner every evening. And AI would be, yeah, you are justified, you did nothing wrong, and blah, blah, blah. Something like that. I feel like people often don't really like to change, which is completely understandable. Change is hard and it requires effort, but also it is necessary. That's exactly what this particular witch relies on, this comfort into staying the same. She tells them, meaning her victims, that they are smart, that they are perfect, that they are doing everything right, and slowly lures them into her coven. She just manipulates them with her honey words and makes them do things that ultimately will benefit her and her witch sisters. And it does not matter if things she manipulates them to do will eventually destroy them and their role in their community. Basically, she is the ultimate manipulator final boss. Like I mentioned earlier, I really wanted to incorporate tongue and mouth elements into her design. I feel like words of affirmation would actually be the most powerful spell of them all, because with the right amount of charisma, so many things can be manipulated and twisted for the worse, which, we can kind of see that happening in the world right now. I feel like she would be the most capable, maybe even the most influential of all of them. I really like how the tongue and mouth elements work with the dress and the hat. I'm actually pretty happy with how the whole design turned out. Her hat and the dress kind of make this whole thing into a mouth. I wanted to incorporate a lot of spiky elements because she is not welcoming. She does not even care to look welcoming for her victims. She just looks like someone who is a very dangerous creature, and because she's a very dangerous creature. I am pretty happy how this design turned out. Anyway, just let me know what you think of this. Next one we're doing is physical touch. Do I even need to explain this one? But I will. In the 5 love languages, a physical touch means feeling loved through affectionate contact. Things like hugs, holding hands, cuddling, a kiss, or even a reassuring hand on the shoulder can make someone feel emotionally close and cared for. Basically, it's when a safe, warm touch is the main way someone expresses love. For this design, I wanted something that looks very alluring to, touch. Someone who looks soft and, very touchable, for lack of a better word. For an evil witch whose main powers revolve around physical touch, I imagine she would be very appealing to look at. So I tried to make her look conventionally attractive. The main inspiration for this design definitely was, and I am sure you can see it without me even pointing it out, Aphrodite from the game Hades. I wanted her to show a lot of skin, since that would be the source of her powers. The way I imagine her operating is that she lures in people with her beauty that's almost irresistible. I wanted her to look very safe. Therefore, I tried to use a small amount of sharp shapes as possible. I wanted to keep the main feeling very round and welcoming, unlike the words of affirmation one. But of course, there's a catch. She's not just here to hug you and cuddle you. She is covered in this sort of saliva-like substance, a bit sticky, and more importantly, poisonous. Anyone who comes into contact with it gets charmed and ends up under her control. I imagine this particular witch wouldn't have the widest reach, since she actually has to be physically present all the time to spread her influence. Her magic relies heavily on touch, but on the other hand, she would probably have someone of the most loyal quote-unquote followers, because, well, she is physically there with them, and most importantly, she is nice to look at. You can't really have a witch without some kind of twist though. This whole idea, and I mean this video idea, came to me because I casually revisit soundtracks from some of my favorite games of all time. And if you've ever played The Witcher 3, there are these characters called the Crown, and I love their whole concept. They are basically local witches, and they definitely served as a big inspiration here. When I said all 5 of these witches would be part of a coven, that's the kind of dynamic I had in mind. If you ever played Witcher 3, you know. So in the game, and a very minor spoiler here, before you meet the witches, you talk to them through this tapestry where they all look young and beautiful and they all look very pretty. And then when you, not you, but Geralt actually meets them, they look, well, let's just say very different. And while I appreciate the horrifying monster designs, I personally don't love designing full-on monsters, mainly because I am not good at designing monsters. So that's why with all of these witches, I went more toward pretty but, you know, suspicious design. The reason I went on that little Witcher tangent is because I imagine this physical touch witch would be somewhat of a catfish similar to the crowns from the game. So I added a tiny hint toward that in her design. You can see it on her face right there. I imagine this appealing appearance is just a front. Maybe she even changes her form to match the tastes and desires of whichever victim she chooses. That's also why I made her look a bit squishy, I guess, like she could shapeshift pretty easily. So that's the final result. What do you think? I actually really like this design. I think she turned out pretty alright. She looks very soft, she has a lot of round shapes, and let me know what you think. Last and seemingly the least for me personally is gift giving or receiving gifts, whichever direction you want to look at it from. In the whole 5 love languages concept, gift giving means feeling loved when someone gives you, well, thoughtful presents. The gift itself does not have to be big or expensive, it's more about the meaning behind it. It's the classic, you know, I saw this and thought of you kind of thing. I think this love language is actually very sweet, especially when the gift is something small and thoughtful. That being said, I am really bad at giving gifts, and to be honest, I feel weird receiving them too. I don't really know why, but being on either side of the gifting situation makes me weirdly anxious. Something about the expectations around it just makes my brain short-circuit a little, which is probably why drawing this particular love language as an evil witch was not hard at all. It's already associated with something slightly uncomfortable for me, so turning it into something sinister felt pretty natural. For the design, I wanted to make this witch look very luxurious and wealthy. I gave her this aristocratic looking dress because it immediately makes me think of high status and old money. For her complementary color, I went with gold for the exact same reason. I wanted her whole appearance to scream affluence. She has to look like someone who has an endless supply of physical things, aka gifts, to give. As for her quote-unquote recruitment tactics, she would definitely rely on the appeal I just described, especially when targeting people who don't really have the resources to give or receive gifts within their own communities. I feel like this is the one love language that can sometimes be tied to the financial capability. Obviously, you can give someone gifts that don't require money and still have a lot of sentimental values. Handcrafted things, maybe just picking flowers or just writing letters. There are tons of meaningful options. But at least for me personally, money definitely does make some difference. And of course, I don't mean when I'm on the receiving end, I mean the opposite, not having money. I want to give someone I love a gift. For example, when I want to give something to my friends or family, I often think about things that might actually make their lives easier, like a new kitchen tool, a good pair of shoes, or maybe a gardening tool for someone who likes gardening. Things that are practical but thoughtful, and it's a lot harder to do that when you are broke. I'm sure at some point you've probably felt something similar too. Anyway, back to the witch stuff. As I said, she needed to look like the money problems simply does not concern her. She would absolutely take advantage of people who don't usually receive gifts. At first, she'd start small, maybe a bouquet of flowers, a box of fruit, a little thoughtful things here and there. And as her chosen quote-unquote victim starts accepting her gifts more and more, the presents start getting bigger, better, and more expensive. I imagine that's the way she really gets control over them. The more gifts they accept, the more influence she gains. The gifts would gradually escalate from physical things like expensive clothing, jewelry, maybe even a house or something, to the things that almost start feeling like genie wishes, like I want this person to fall in love with me, and she would gift someone that, or make my dog live forever, which, let's be honest, is probably something most of us would ask for immediately. The deeper they get into accepting her generosity, the harder it becomes to escape the hold she has over them. I actually really like the concept behind her magic. Out of all the witches, this one was probably the easiest for me to translate into a malicious character. One thing I do regret about her design though is not adding a proper witch hat. That was something I originally wanted to keep consistent across all 5 witches. When I was designing her, I thought adding a bow might kind of resemble a witch hat shape, but looking at it now, it probably could have used a bit more work. But you know, it is what it is. Anyway, let me know what you think about this one. Would you fall for her schemes? I'm honestly not sure about myself, but if someone just walked up to me and said, "My gift to you is making your dog immortal," I feel like all my critical thinking would immediately disappear and I just surrender to her magic or whatever she is using to do that without asking any further questions. So, yeah, let me know what you think. So yeah, that's it. Thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed, please consider subscribing and maybe liking or even commenting. Okay, so do you believe people have primary love languages? I am skeptical, but this was fun nonetheless. Plus, honestly, I think the test results for me were kind of on point. If you have done this test before, let me know which one is your primary love language and if the corresponding witch has any chance of enchanting you with her magic. I make similar videos about some random ideas I get, which is pretty fun, pretty cool. If you have anything you'd like me to draw or talk about, please feel free to leave it in the comments. I always read them. I know I was supposed to make this video like a month ago, but some things came up and I could not get to it. So yeah, that's why it took so long. But hey, I'm back. I am happy to be back. I love doing this. More stuff are coming in the future. Thank you again all so much for being here. Take care. Go tell your loved ones you love them. And goodbye.